I want to welcome everyone here tonight. It's a privilege to be here. Do we have any Bulldogs in the house?
Yes, sir.
All right. We thought we should give a shout out to the Bulldogs. The last time actually I was in this gymnasium is when it was dedicated to Walt Schublum, who won all the state titles for basketball. And so quite a dedication to be in the Schublum gym now as we prepare for our listening tour. So my name is Mark Holland, mayor here in Kansas City, Kansas. I'm delighted that you all came out and decided to spend a portion of your evening here. We have a very important agenda, I think. So I want to start out by giving some thank yous to all of our volunteer facilitators who are around at the different tables. Let's give them all a hand for being here. I also want to recognize some other elected officials. Sheriff Ash is here tonight. Sheriff, thank you for being here. And former Commissioner Maddox is here. Thank you for being here as well. And Jeff Bryant is with the BPU, and he's also a facilitator. You already clapped for him once, but we appreciate your work. Thank you. Any other elected officials that I missed? I was scanning the room to make sure I didn't miss anybody. I want to introduce my staff also. Many of them you met upstairs. Bill Hurlbrink was here earlier. Jason Banks is in the back. Maureen Mahoney is here. And upstairs you saw Rachel and Jasmine signing you in, and Lindsay. There's an enormous amount of logistics to pull off these events, so I think if it weren't for my team at the city, I wouldn't be able to do it. So let's give them a hand for getting all this together. So I'm going to ask, we have several of the commissioners here tonight. We have both of our at-large commissioners as well as our in-district commissioner. And so I'm going to ask them to just say a few words of welcome. And so I'm going to start with Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner? You're a commissioner of the 4th District.
Good evening to everybody. I'm just glad to be here this evening to speak to you. I'm one of the newbies for the commission, along with my fellow Commissioner Melissa Bynum, and it's just been a privilege. It's been an honor to serve you as the 4th District Commissioner. It's just been a little over 4 months now since we took office, and it's just been an exciting time. It's been somebody asked me what was it like. I said it's like drinking out of a fire hydrant because the information was coming so fast. But I'm just privileged and honored to be here to serve you in this district. We've got a great, diverse district in District 4. And I think you ought to celebrate yourselves, because there is such a great diversity in our district. In light of that, we know we have a lot of challenges, but those challenges are not insurmountable. And so in spite of those challenges, I'm of the opinion that we got some great things going on in District 4 and some creative DNA that I'm proud to be a representative of. And so look forward to tonight for everybody putting in your input and giving, and I appreciate the mayor for providing this space to be able to put in your input to help to create a vision. And I think that's what we need, particularly this side of 635, is a vision for the northeast section of town. There have been promises that have been made. We want to see those promises fulfilled in District 4. I got one clap for that. So there have been promises been made, and we want to see those promises fulfilled. We know it's not going to be easy, but nothing worth having has ever been easy. But if we can work together and use our collective creative DNA, I believe that we can make some positive changes, not only in the Northeast District or the Northeast section of town, but more specifically in the 4th District. I'm proud that Commissioner Bynum and Commissioner Gail Townsend and myself worked together to begin to put together the ideas that we need to have a vision and a plan for Northeast. And at the 11th hour, we were able to get approval to move forward to find funding for a master plan for the Northeast section, which includes the 4th District. And so in my other world, I am told that people perish without a vision. And so we use that in practical terms. We call that a master plan. And so I'm excited for the fact that we can be able to start that, find funding to be able to put together a master plan that will carry us into the future. I see what's going on out in Western Wyandotte County. Wyandotte Plaza, how many have been out to Wyandotte Plaza? There are times when I wait anxiously for that hot button out at, what do they call that donut place out there? At the Krispy Kreme. I wait with great anticipation. Wouldn't it be nice to have something like that down in the 4th District? If we can do it at Wyandotte Plaza, why can't we do it at Tower Plaza and see some kind of development this side of 635? So enjoy yourselves tonight, put forth some good ideas, and participate in these sessions, because I'm looking forward to seeing the results and moving forward into our bright future. Thank you so much.
It's always dangerous to have two preachers in the house, amen? I also saw Marianne Flunder come in, a community college elected official. Welcome, Marianne Flunder. I'd like to ask Commissioner Hal Walker, who is at large for District 2, to come forward and greet you as well.
Well, it's pretty difficult to follow two eloquent preachers such as we have on our commission, but I want to just say that as an at-large commissioner, myself and Melissa Bynum also represent the 4th District. I've spoken with Commissioner Johnson about an idea I have regarding what I believe is another grocery store in the 4th District. It's in the working stages. He and I have some more discussion to do, but it would be further north in the area maybe of 18th and Parallel, or perhaps as far up as Quindaro. It might not be as big a grocery store, but we want to try to meet what you, the people, want. That's why we're here tonight, is to listen to you. You're not here to listen to me or to any of us, really. And what your input gives us on the monies that we're starting to receive is very important. A long time ago, a commission made a promise to the people of this community that when the money from the Western Wyandotte County development would start coming in, it would go to reduce your taxes. Now, the question becomes, is that really what you want us to do with that? No. I heard no. That's why you're here, so that we can hear what you want today, not what people promised 25 years ago, 20 years ago. So you're not here to hear me speak, so I'll end with that, but welcome. I thank the mayor and his staff for coming up with this idea. This is the first time I can remember in my long history with government that we've had these kind of forums, and maybe it's something we should do on a maybe every other year basis. You'd be glad to do that, wouldn't you, Mayor? So thank you very much. Call me anytime you can. My numbers are listed, and I'll be glad to try to help you. Thank you.
And now I'm going to ask the at-large commissioner for the northern area, for District 1, Melissa Bynum, to come up.
My name's Melissa Bynum. I am the at-large commissioner, which does include District 4, so I am a second commissioner for you if you live in District 4. All I want to say is I'm so happy to be here with you, but I'm even happier that you are here. I am a 100% believer that our government not just needs, but requires your participation. So this is a great turnout. I am thrilled to see each and every one of you. I think you will enjoy this process, and I think we'll be ready to get started in just a matter of a few minutes. Thank you so much. I did want to take a quick photograph, so if you could all smile. Thank you.
All right, so what I'm going to do tonight, what I'm going to do very briefly, because again, this is a listening tour, not a speaking tour. So I'm going to give a little bit of framing in terms of what we're talking about tonight and give you some perspective on how we got to where we are. including describing the star bonds. We get a lot of questions about this, so I know that if we can just spend a few minutes kind of covering a few things, I think it would be very helpful. But one of the things I want to do is I just want to give some framework for how Wyandotte County got to where we are right now. And where we are right now is that we have the highest property taxes in the area and the lowest valuations. And people say, well, why is that? So I want to tell you a little bit of a story that has really helped me understand this in a more helpful way. So in 1950, Kansas City, Kansas was the largest city in the state of Kansas. In 1960, we had 185,000 people in Kansas City, Kansas. Between 1960 and 2000, in those 40 years, we had a phenomenon that affected not only Kansas City, Kansas, but urban areas across America, where 60,000 white people moved out of Wyandotte County and 30,000 people of other ethnicities moved in. And we had a net loss in population of 30,000 people. And with that net loss in population, Kansas City, Kansas went from 20% above the median household income in the state of Kansas to 20% below the median household in the state of Kansas. And if you think about 30,000 fewer people, that represents about 10,000 empty houses. And empty houses begin to collapse. And currently, the unified government owns 6,000 empty lots. And if you will agree to mow it, we will give it to you for a very low price. But those 6,000 lots are from houses that have been torn down. In that transition time of the last 40 years, we've also had the national phenomenon of the absentee landlord. The absentee landlord has decimated urban America, and absentee is a state of mind, not a geography. But the absentee landlords have devastated our housing, our commercial, and our retail in all of Kansas City, Kansas. The cost to that has been tremendous to the rest of us who live here. So as a part of that change, the good news is, since 2010, Wyandotte County has had the first net gain in population in 50 years. And that's very good news. We also are a very diverse community. We're one of the most diverse communities in the entire nation. Only Broward County, Florida has the same level of diversity as Kansas City, Kansas, where all three major ethnic groups are above 25% of the population, because we have no ethnic majority in Kansas City, Kansas. We're about 40% white, about 28% Latino, and about 26% black. So we have the most diverse city in the region and in the state, and one of the most diverse in the entire nation. In 1960, being diverse was considered a negative for a city. But fast forward to today, and a diverse city is exactly where younger families want to be. So we are uniquely positioned to transform our city to be the kind of place that's going to be the next destination of growth in the metropolitan area. And the Northeast and downtown, and the proximity to downtown Kansas City, Missouri, KCI Airport, the downtown airport, we are uniquely positioned in the center of the metropolitan area for a major rebirth. As I came into office, my priorities of economic development, innovation, and healthy communities. Economic development, not just out west. Out west has been a tremendous success. And do you remember what was out there before? There are about 150 homes that were paying around, combined, we're paying about $200,000 a year in property tax. And for retail, there was a gas station with a liquor store and a Kentucky Fried. And all the jobs and sales tax that went with that. If you look at that development today, there are over 9,000 jobs in Village West. They pay $12 million a year already in property tax, and they have been paying all along. Only the Speedway does not pay property tax out at the Legends. And with the sales tax coming free, with the Star Bond payoff, we'll have an additional $12 million a year. Then that's what we're going to talk about today in terms of how to invest that. But when I came into office 2 years ago as mayor, after 6 years as an at-large commissioner, I said I really have two urban priorities. One is Indian Springs, and the other is downtown. Indian Springs is in a great location. We actually own all 100 acres of that, but the closed malls are dead all over America. And just in Kansas City region, you can see Metro North is closed, Metcalf South is closed, Bannister Mall is closed, Mission Mall closed. All of the closed malls are dead. The interior closed malls are dead. And now the open air malls like we have at Legends or Zona Rosa are the new thing. My theory is the developers are behind this, and in 30 years they're going to tear down all the open air malls and build closed air malls again, right? That's just how the money works in America. But for right now, we have the best open air mall in the region. But we need to redevelop Indian Springs. We've taken out the asbestos. We did $1.5 million worth of asbestos removal, and we're ready to tear it down. Doesn't it look like it needs to be torn down? Yeah. It needs to come down, and we have a number of redevelopment options. What I'm holding out for, and what the commission is holding out for, is it's got to have retail. If we wanted to do the largest truck stop west of the Mississippi at Indian Springs, we could already do that today. That's not its highest and best use. We need a nice new grocery store there. We need retail there. We need the kinds of services that people in our community need. And we've got to hold out for that. And I'm willing to do it right rather than right now. Downtown, you may have heard about the Healthy Campus that I've been working on. Building a new community center run by the Y and a new grocery store. We're working on both of those projects, but together that will be a $30 million capital investment in downtown with a vision of being a national model for healthy living in an urban area. Because I believe if we can move the needle in health downtown KCK, we can move it anywhere in the nation. So we're actively working on that. But today I want to let you know that that's kind of the background of where KCK has been. And now we have the privilege of the payoff of the STAR bond. So what is a STAR bond? It stands for Sales Tax Revenue Bonds. And the sales tax revenue, or when you go out and shop at the Legends, and I hope you do, I hope everybody shops at the Legends. When you go out and pay sales tax at the Legends, the entire amount of sales tax that you pay goes to pay off bonds that were used to build that development. Those bonds are largely backed by the state portion of your sales tax. About 2/3 of your sales tax bill is state money. What I love about STAR bonds and why I'd like to use them everywhere in the city is because it's majority state money, and I prefer to spend the state's money than our local money. Yes? When you do a tax increment financing project, it's only property tax, and 100% of that cost is on the unified government. So sales tax revenue bonds are better for the community, more cost effective, and it's largely paid by the state. So the state's about to get $50 million when that pays off, and we're going to get $12 million. So that partnership has been very good for Wyandotte County. What we need to balance tonight, and you're going to see when you go to your different stations, which is on your name tag, you have a number on your name tag, and we're going to ask you to go into small groups, and you're going to have a sheet that lists different costs of different things we could do with that $12 million. Now, I'll give you an example. Property tax reduction is a big priority. I've already shared why our property taxes are so high, because with 10,000 empty homes, our valuations plummeted, and the government over time crept up that property tax rate to try to capture that loss of revenue. Because it turns out it costs the same amount of money to pave a street, whether there's a $25,000 house on it or a $250,000 house on it. So we have ended up with the highest tax rate in the region. Think about the $12 million. How much of that should we apply towards property tax relief? For every 1 mil costs about $1 million. A 1 mil reduction in your property taxes for a home that is valued at $100,000, 1 mil in property tax reduction would save you about $12 a year. If we did $3 million of property tax reduction, it would save you $36 a year, or about $3 a month. If we put all $12 million into property tax reduction on a $100,000 house, it would save you about $150 a year, or a little over about $10 or $12 a month. So the question is, how much of that money do we put towards property tax reduction? Do we do it all at once, or do we do it over time to bring it down? The other is looking at the cost of paving streets, the cost of plowing snow, the different costs of the services we provide. You're going to have a sheet that explains all those costs, and your job tonight is to balance this budget. But before we get too excited, I'm going to go on record and say $12 million is a lot of money. How many people think $12 million is a lot of money? It's a lot of money. Unfortunately, it's only about 4% of the total budget of the unified government. We have a $300 million budget, so $12 million is about 4%. So as much money as it sounds like, it's not as much as we need. But it's the largest windfall we've ever had, and we need to do right by the citizens of Kansas City, Kansas, to spend it the way you want us to spend it. And so that's why you're here tonight. So you're going to break into small groups, you're going to be asked to fill out the form, and then to come to a consensus within your group, which is good practice for being a commissioner. Because all 10 of us, 11 of us can have great ideas, but if the rest of the folks don't agree with it, guess where it goes? Nowhere. So you're going to have to come to a consensus in your group, and then at the end, your group is going to present out what use your group thinks, your group thinks we should spend it. Now, the other piece is every one of your comments that you document on your sheet, we're going to publish on the website. So all of your comments are going to be published, and the group responses are going to be published. So you'll be able to look at individual responses, and you'll be able to look district by district. And one of the things that's interesting to me is to see how different the priorities are, if they're different at all, between this group and the next one, District 5, is out in Piper. And I'd be interested to see if District 5 has different priorities than you all have. That's why we're doing it district by district, to get a perspective. So you're going to break into groups. We have posted around every group some ground rules, and here are the ground rules. Number 1, share the airtime. We don't want any one person dominating the conversation. If you do, your facilitators will very kindly help someone else speak. We want you to listen respectfully and not interrupt. We can all disagree without being disagreeable. Yes? Maybe not in Washington, but here in Wyandotte we can. Amen? Give people the benefit of the doubt. When people are throwing out ideas, they might say it wrong. And so give them the benefit of the doubt. They might have said something that upset you, but back up and listen and try to dig in to see if what they said was offensive or if they just said it wrong. So give people the benefit of the doubt as they're talking. Allow your facilitator to remain neutral. Your facilitators have all gone through a training, and they've done this. Most of them, as I look around, have done this before, so they're skilled. So don't ask them for their opinion or to solve a problem for the group. Just let them be neutral. And then be positive and open to new ideas, which is, I think, what all of the commissioners are here for, and myself. We're open to new ideas and to hear what you want. The list of services on your sheet of paper, where did those come from? They came from a countywide survey 2 years ago that were listed by the citizens of this county as the most important services the unified government offers. So if you wonder where they came from the citizens of Wyandotte County. You also have in your booklet, in your notebook, your folder, you have an evaluation. The evaluations have been very helpful, particularly in the first couple as we improve the next meetings that we have. So your feedback, if you would turn that in before you leave, that would be a big help to us as well. Last thing, when you're looking at spending the money, it's the same way at your house. There's money that you spend one time and commit over time, and money that you can spend repeatedly. So at your house, if you have a mortgage, you've committed that money for 20 or 30 years, yes? But if you have other things that you buy, you've only committed it for 1 year at a time. The same thing is true here. If we apply, whatever money we apply to lowering property taxes, that's money we've committed every year, and we don't get to spend that next year. Money that we put into our fund balance, or the city's savings account to help our credit rating, that's money that if we put $3 million in there, next year we get that $3 million back and it's not committed, so we can spend it again. A cash project on a street, if you pay cash for it, you can build another street next year. If you debt finance it, you've committed that money over time. So think about committing it once or committing it to where you can do it several times. That's a challenging concept, but you'll be pushed by that with your facilitators. All right, that's our task. I'm going to ask you now to move to look at your number, move to your small group, and get to work. Thanks for being here. All right, we're going to start presenting, so if everyone can take their voices down, even if you're not seated, we need your voices down. And we're going to go in order to hear the presentations of the different groups. So we're going to have group number 1. Come on down.
facilitated group number 1, and we had lots of good discussion. There was some variance, but this is what we agreed upon. So we had 0 for property tax relief. We put $1 million in demolition of residential or commercial properties, $300,000 in code enforcement, $1.5 million to street resurfacing, $300,000 to mowing vacant lots, $500,000 to snow removal, $2 million to aging services, 0 to personal property registration, $2 million to parks, $400,000 to police, and $750,000 to fire services, which left us with $3.25 million for other. And we kind of ran out of time, but we had a lot of different others, so I wanted to read all of those and then give our top 3 that we agreed upon. So we had neighborhood groups and youth development, which also includes summer jobs for youth, recreation, animal control, lighting and cameras in alleyways, reserve fund, community health programs, incentives for urban development, financial assistance for buyers in the Northeast area, and brush and tree removal / recycling. So we kind of agreed at the last minute that we would divvy our $3.25 million up to community health programs, incentives for urban development, and recreation. And that was our 12. So.
It's harder than it sounds, isn't it? Oh, yeah. It's harder than it sounds. Group number 2.
We had the best group. I just want to lay that out right now. Once you hear this, you'll know. All right? So, let me just kind of walk through what we walked through together. And we had on property tax relief 0, demolition $1 million, and really $1 million for rehab more than just demolition. We wanted to see if there was a way to kind of blend that. Code enforcement $500,000. With the idea of having training as part of that $500,000, not just more people, but more training. Resurfacing the streets, we wanted $1 million be spent. Mowing vacant lots, another $1 million. Snow removal, $500,000. And really, we would like to have them think about how they disperse the snow so it doesn't just go up against our driveway. Aging services, we really would like to see about $1.5 million. And some more detail about how that 1.5 will be spent on aging. Personal property, $200,000. Park improvements, $2 million, and they had a caveat on this one as well. They truly wanted to see it around programming and improving the community centers that are in the parks so that they can really be used. Police service, $500,000. Fire service, 1.5. And they also put a caveat on that one. They really would like to learn about the study that's coming out in October to make sure that that 1.5 is being spent correctly. Then we had $2.3 million left over for other, and here's our list. I meant it, we were thinking. So I want to share this with you. Here, can you hold it? So we spent another $12 million, by the way. For animal control, some things to be thinking about. Youth services. We also talked about putting about $1 million in reserve. We felt like that was a key piece. Tree trimming, disaster cleanups, downtown development. And for those of you that know me, I didn't say a word about that. Okay, just want to share that. Trees and lights. Prisoner rehab of those houses. So we were even thinking about in the demo if we could get prisoners out and actually teach them a trade and have them work on these houses. I think that's another key piece. Build the internet, so really a Wi-Fi throughout so everybody has access. Really a cool idea for downtown in the EPA's building that currently is sitting empty to turn that into a Wizard of Oz economic developer destination location. Again, it wasn't me pointing that out. Curbs, sidewalks, downtown, healthy campus, so really putting more money toward the healthy campus and having things, and I didn't put that there either. Economic development, having a real plan that actually leads to real development, that's a key piece. So something that's palatable, easy to do, not so high up, and that's it. There you go.
All right, group number 3.
I show you this to let you know the process is messy, just like my handwriting, okay? That's what processes are about, is getting to the details. Well done, Mr. Mayor, commissioners, okay? We went from this, not much consensus, right? Okay. To this. I'm not going to go through. We did $1 million in demo, Indian Springs, $3 million, code enforcement, so we had a lot of others. Okay? Code enforcement, $500,000, entrepreneurial support, $1 million, mowing, $500,000, $500,000, not-for-profits, $1 million, aging services, $1 million, park improvements, $1 million, community economic development, $3 million, total of 12. Thank you, folks.
Ready for number 4.
Okay. Group 4 did not allocate anything to property tax relief. They felt like it would have been too small of an amount to make a big difference. They allocated $1 million to demolitions and wanted to focus on residential. They allocated $300,000 to code enforcement, $1.3 million to street resurfacing, but also wanted to add the caveat that that should include complete streets, so sidewalks as well. They allocated $600,000 for mowing lots, but they also had a great discussion about neighbors helping each other and that being part of how mowing can be controlled. They allocated $200,000 to snow removal, $1 million to aging services. They did not want to allocate anything to the auto registration. They said 0. They put $2.7 million in park improvements. They all really valued that. And they wanted to focus also on recreation for youth, especially on Wednesday afternoons. They put $800,000 for police services. We had a discussion about that. Some were hesitant. Some wanted to allocate funding because of slower response times to their concerns in the past, and others, for that reason, did not want to allocate more for that. And someone else mentioned that they felt like that might be an area that would be pulled out quickly if it were allocated to there. And then we had $900,000 to fire services. We had $3.2 million allocated to other, and ideas for that. There was a discussion about adding more funding to animal control. People did mention the Healthy Camp, the downtown campus project, and also downtown revitalization. They were interested in putting up to $1 million in that. And there was a strong discussion about education in our group. And also perhaps investing in some kind of tech startup area. And then reducing debt was another option for the other.
All right, group number 5. It was a rough and tumble group. We got a guy in a sling. Holy cow.
All right, before we get into the big reveal for our numbers, we wanted to share a few of the influences and observations that contributed to people's thoughts for the allocation in the budget. So first of all, folks were very, very passionate about the need for sidewalks, recognizing that they lead to healthier communities, increased safety, and have a nicer community overall. Additionally, animal control, we would like to see some more responsiveness there, as well as increased snow removal on the sidewalks in order to make greater access and to decrease the danger. One of the key things that they wanted to point out was related to investments, being sure that we utilize this budget and utilize the money in order to to fund improvements that are going to make our community more desirable over time. Things that we might not see an immediate response for, but over time will eventually result in higher property values and people wanting to move to our community. Secondly, lack of code enforcement, which is quickly advancing the deterioration of our neighborhoods. Healthy Campus is certainly a point of pride for our group. They said that it really shows the progress that our community is making, that we're moving in the right direction, and it makes KCK a more appealing place for future and current residents. And then lastly, we decided that it was very important to fix the visuals for our city and to really fund and fuel and support our first responders, because that of course leads to a happier, safer community with lower crime rates. So, big reveal. Justin is up with that.
All right. Nobody do any quick math. Nobody do any math on this. We took our median numbers and then we just decided if those were the final numbers that we wanted to go with. I'll just point out a few things. The parks were very important to a lot of people, which was reflected in the fact that everybody allocated money to it. And things like streets and demolitions were also very important to people, but they weren't as high a priority. And so they were willing to move some money away from that to the other category. And the other category was full of really brilliant ideas and just reflected the passion for the county. Things like revitalizing downtown area and then specifically sidewalks, making our accessibility for everyone in the county safer and making it a healthier place for everyone. So I could go over each category, but you guys know the categories. So thank you. All right, group number 6, and then right after 6 will be 7 on deck.
Hello. All right, so I'm just going to go down the list of some of the trends that we realized in our group. Our group had a lot of themes that they wanted to acknowledge with the $12 million. So some of the main focuses that we realized were property tax relief. Our group really wanted to decrease the amount of property taxes that our citizens are paying in Wyandotte County, and they wanted to allocate $840,000 into property taxes. Demolitions came in at $638,000. They really felt that focusing on some of the residential properties that are currently demolished or need infrastructure attention was very important. Code enforcement came in at $548,000 because they felt that there needed to be greater attention to some of those vacant lots or residential properties that currently are not mowing their grass. Street resurfacing came in at $1.7 million. It was the largest number we had on our list because they really wanted to focus in on building sidewalks throughout this area in District 4. They really felt that that was a need. They wanted to be able to walk around in their community, and not having sidewalks is a very, huge hindrance to that. They also wanted to allocate $465,000 to mowing vacant lots, because again, it's the summertime and those vacant lots are, growing up a lot, and they really wanted to see the grass getting attention. Snow removal came in at $599,000. Aging services came in at $1.15 million because they felt that there needed to be a greater attention to the aging population in Wyandotte County, and they also needed to be, recognized for some of the services that they need while our population is aging. Personal property taxes for auto registration came in at $165,000. Park improvements came in at $1.3 million because they wanted to be able to take their children out into the parks and make sure that they're safe when they're going out to those parks. So they wanted to allocate a large sum of money to park improvements. Police services, $850,000 with an emphasis of $200,000 in animal control throughout District 4 in Wyandotte County in general, because there are a lot of roaming pets around and they wanted to know that those pets would be taken care of. Fire services came in at $730,000. And I know Fire services was a huge emphasis one of the ladies in our group spoke about. And we also had a lot of others in our group. Speaking of a grocery store, they felt that a grocery store really needed to be in this area, closer around their community, and it came in at $407,000. Our reserves of $1.7 million. Also, education came in at $20,000. An increase in daycare services was $20,000 as well. And also revitalizing Indian Springs, while it may not be in District 4, but $150,000. All right.
All right, ready for Group 7? Come on up.
First of all, good evening. Group 7, that's right, Group 7, yeah. First of all, we'd like to thank all of the young adults who came out tonight who are providing a lot of input. And so Ms. Melissa Sims, who's here with CCO, we want to give her a hand, and all the young adults that came out tonight. So she's agreed to hold the sign while I talk, so we're just going to go ahead. This is it was amazing as we went through the process, and I want to echo with what one of the earlier groups said. This is just our first go through. We ran out of time. So this really was a messy process. This really was a hard process. So I don't envy what you all have to do. So we're glad you're in those seats and we're not. So we'll go through this, and one of the first things we talked about was property tax relief at 1.5 million, demolition at 1.5 million, mowing lots was at 500,000, with the emphasis on providing jobs to young people, which could possibly cut down on the cost for getting that done. Police was at 1.2 million, along with fire being at 500,000, with the emphasis being on police and firemen who look like the community that they're serving. So we were hoping that some of those that would be hired, we would get more officers and firemen of color. Code enforcement was 1.1 million. Street resurfacing, we cut that down to $1 million. Snow removal at 300,000. The biggest one that we had was park improvement, because we recognize that statistics say that when you have healthy parks, you have healthy communities. And with the large number of people that we have that are aging now, and with the large number of children and babies that we have, we need quality parks, which left us about 1 million, which goes into our other pot, which covers medical support, youth development, grocery stores, nonprofit housing, curbs, and things of that nature. So again, like we said, this was just our preliminary run, but if we had more time, we would probably be able to tie it down a little bit more closer. Thank you.
All right, we're on the home stretch. Number 8.
Hello. Good evening. Group 8. This group was really all about parks improvement, and making our parks more desirable so we can compete with other cities. However, they did put money towards other things. So they put $1 million towards demolitions, $500,000 towards code enforcement, really with the idea of not so much enforcing, but more what services code enforcement could provide to help people stay in their homes. Street resurfacing, $500,000, $600,000 to mowing vacant lots. But again, the concept here was less hiring of city employees and maybe more using neighborhood resources. So maybe an adopt-a-lot program or something like that. Nothing to snow removal, $1.5 million to aging services, $4.5 million to park improvements, and again, just making our parks more beautiful, amenities, dog parks, really highlighting Wyandotte County Lake Park as kind of like our hidden treasure, and it shouldn't be hidden. And then $400,000 to the police services, and then they put $3 million towards other. They wanted to focus on making sure that Northeast Master Plan gets completed, the rehab of any residential and commercial buildings that are still viable. They also wanted to look at technology to improve efficiencies over increased personnel and staffing. And then again, any type of things we can do with the Neighborhood Resource Center and the Codes Department to make it less enforcement and more people staying in their homes and how they can help with that. And that was it. Thank you.
All right, group number 9.
Hello. So I was in group number 9 and just sort of to explain how we did our numbers. I've been fairly consistent. We had 6 people in our group, and so what we decided as a group that every person in the group would give me a number of what they wanted to spend in a particular area. We would add up that number and divide it by the number of people in our group, which was 6. So the numbers I'm giving you are our averages from the group consensus. So for property tax relief, none of the 6 individuals in my group wanted to spend any money on property tax. In demolition of residential and commercial structures, kind of a recurring theme with can we put money aside to capture homes before they are ready for demolition in order to keep people in their homes. So for that amount, for that area, the average was about $1.1 million. In code enforcement, similar theme, boosting code enforcement, less enforcement and more case management type activities. The average was $100,000. In street resurfacing, the average was a little over $1.4 million. Mowing vacant lots, there was discussion about how do we capture or how does someone get some of the 6,500 vacant lots that we have, and that was go and talk to the people at the land bank, and we will gladly make revisions for you to get those lots. So the average for mowing vacant lots was about $216,000. Snow removal and plowing and treatment. We spent some time explaining our current policy around snow removal, which is if we have a snow that's 4 inches or less, we don't treat the residential neighborhoods. We only treat the arterials. Of course, the last couple of snows we've had, that policy has been blown out of the wire because we've had more than 4 inches of snow. So for snow removal, plowing, and treatment, the average of the group was $383,000. Aging services, lots of discussion about what aging services entails. I don't think the people in my group knew the breadth of services that our aging department provides, so we explained that. And their average dollar amount for aging was $841,000. Personal property auto registration at the courthouse annex. I explained to the group that they should blame the state of Kansas for the long waits that we experience in our auto registration department. And so they allocated $116,000 for that area. Park improvements, we have 25 plus parks in all over the community, and the average was $833,000. Police services, $550,000. Fire services, $700,000. And there was discussion in the fire services area about we have an EMS-based fire department. So most of the time when you call 911, 2 vehicles are going to show up, the care unit and the pumper. And there was discussion about replacement schedule, maintenance-wise, for all of our vehicles, whether it's police vehicles or fire vehicles or public works vehicles or what have you. In the other category, there was discussion among the group to allocate $3 million to education. And then the other $3 million was allocated to some type of cultural arts facility. given, as the mayor said, we are probably one of the most diverse communities, certainly in the region and certainly in the country. So I gave you averages. On average, we spent more than $12 million. We actually spent $12,341,663. But who's counting? Thank you.
All right, last but not least, number 10.
Good evening. So, of course, I saved the best for last, which is group number 10. Number one, I'd like to thank Jasmine for assisting tonight. She was wonderful, delightful to work with. Before I get into the numbers, I would like to say a little bit about group number 10. A very cohesive group, passionate about living in Wyandotte County, about our city. It showed by some of the choices they made with the numbers. A very diverse group. We had a high school senior all the way up to retired. So we had very good reach from the different aspects of our community. So when you look at the dollars, property tax relief was not necessarily the driving force behind everything, even though they felt it was important that we had a significant amount in there, $2.2 million, so that there would be some kind of sign of relief, because as one person mentioned, we've only seen taxes going up in our county. They wanted to see, even if it's a small increment, something to show the other direction. The other one that was that high was in other categories, which included reserves, because if you don't have savings, you're going to pay more for your bonds. Home renovations, youth services, handicap services, grocery store, and very vocal about the disturbing lack of public pools in Wyandotte County. The other big categories, police services, they had $1.6 million in that because they felt that we need more police, especially in the inner city. 1.3 for park improvements because, as I said, they were very, they spread the money out well because they realized that tax abatement will lower your taxes some, but by beautifying your city and bringing in other services and enhancements to your city, you're going to bring more bodies in and more taxpayers and increase the tax base, so it brings more dollars in. The other big ones were aging services. They're very aware of the aging demographic in our city. Street resurfacing, code enforcement, very high. There was a lot of conversation about code enforcement or the appearance of lack of code enforcement in areas. And then, as you can see, well, they took it down. I was going to point to our banner, we're still up. But the other ones were smaller amounts, but those are the largest categories in there. So I just want to thank group number 10. They were wonderful to work with. So thank you.
All right, that wraps up the program tonight, but I want to thank you for taking your evening to come out to dive more deeply into this challenging puzzle that we have called municipal government, and for your participation and for your feedback. We will put all of the comments from each group and for each individual on the Unified Government website, which is wycokck.org, wycokck.org. There's a place under the mayor's picture. If you click on my face gently, then it will pull up and you'll have a listening tour and you'll see everything about the listening tour, because we want you to be able to see what the other districts are saying as well. So I really can't thank you enough for coming out, and I would say give yourselves a big hand for your participation in this. Thank you. All right, have a good evening. Go Royals.